it was a toss-up between the away game and the home game. But for me, the home game is because I don't think I've ever experienced an atmosphere in Prenton Park, including the Stoke game, 24th hours, as that night against Bolton in the semi-final. It was something else. And I remember when the ball, again, I was the kit man, the game was a blur to me. But when that ball left Nicky Henry's boot and flew into the Kop goal, I don't think I've felt as happy about a goal as that one. Why? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. But I know Bolton with the big rivals. But when that ball left his boot, and what a goal as well, and that was the icing on the cake, I just couldn't believe it. I lost myself. I really, really did.
Where were you sitting? Were you on the bench?
No. What tended to happen was at a lot of the home games, we used to have a very small bench, and squads were getting a little bit bigger. So I'd make sure all the kit was out and everything you needed in the changing room. And we had a couple of chaps, one of whom still does it, John and George. They'd pack all the kit away after the game, tidy the changing rooms up, run the bath. So there was no point in me being there. So what I'd do is my office, as such, was underneath the Kop. So I'd just go and sit in the Kop. And then if anyone needed anything, we'd put all the spares, we put everything into the changing rooms. And if anyone needed anything, a white tea player would run round, and I'd just give it them, out my room. I was so joyous that I could sit in the Kop. The same thing happened at Wembley in the final. John Aldrich and Kevin Sheedy said to me, look, we haven't got much room for players on the bench, and we need space for the chief who couldn't play, people like that, because he was cup tied. So he said, would you mind going sitting with with the fans? I couldn't believe it. And I said, of course. And he goes, well, that was easy enough. He thought I was going to be upset. Oh no, give me the fans, sitting in the fans any day for big games like that. So obviously I was in the Kop for the Bolton semi, and at the end of the game, it's all a blur again because we were winning. You knew we were going to go through, and then I got on the pitch at the end with the players, and just standing in front of that Kop, it was absolutely mind blowing. The noise. So I'm seeing it. Although I've been on the bench many times, but this one was just different. I swear the whole Kop, the building itself, was moving when everyone was jumping up and down and singing at the end. And I just thought that I was in awe, absolutely. You've got your Kop at Anfield, you've got your Stretford End. That was special, because it was Bolton. Again, we were still on the rise. It was still.
I think as well. I think it was the first game where it wasn't a split Kop as well. I think it was the first game where the away fans went fully in the cowshed and the Kop was solely home fans. And that made a difference too, didn't it?
I think you're right, because I remember, splitting it. I remember having a lot of Middlesbrough there when Middlesbrough had it, and giving it the whole Kop to, like Stoke had the whole Kop, I think, once, and we were in the cowshed. I know that's our traditional home end, the cowshed, but once you built that, there's no way you could just give that to the away fan. No way. Especially as the club and your supporters on the rise in number. You can't give them the Kop. I mean, nowadays, I'll probably sit there and think, if we're not doing very well and we draw a massive club with a massive support, I'd say, I'll give them the Kop because we need the money. But in them days, no, it was the atmosphere. Because I think when we drew with Bolton at the end of one season, when Lee Jones scored, and we stopped them getting 100 goals, was it?
100 goals and 100 points in the same season. They got the 100 goals, but I think they ended up short of the 100 points.
Lee Jones scored, and we were in the cowshed. That was just before I started. And Bolton, I thought, no, I don't like that. They should give that end to the Kop. I'm glad they did. I think that Kop has made a difference to the atmosphere at our ground, definitely.
Just want to go back and set the scene a little bit, because so you pick that Crewe game, and really starting from the Exeter game is the start of a very, very special journey. As we talk about, Tranmere go on to play at Wembley 5 times, 2 playoff finals, 2 Leyland Daffs, the Mercantile Credit Tournament. They get into the Anglo-Italian Cup. They go to the League Cup semi-final against Aston Villa. They get into the playoffs 3 times in a row to get into the Premier League. But by the time this season comes around, it looks like the glory days have gone. It looks like the club are on the wane. The money's not there anymore because Peter Johnson's gone to Everton. Johnny King's not there anymore, so John Aldridge is in charge. And then suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, this middling performing Championship side, as it is now, Division 1 as it was then, gets to the League Cup semi-final. And it must, I mean, I was only 9 at the time, so I couldn't really comprehend what it was like. I just thought it was the norm.
Yeah.
But for you as a more seasoned fan, shall we say,
yeah.
it must have been unbelievable.
It was incredible. I'm so proud of them. I mean, obviously I was involved with the squad, and before and after, and they were a sensational squad, which made the whole thing sweeter. Them bunch of lads and the management team, everyone at Tranmere, just rounded everything off for me, because it was like we were all in it together. It was incredible, just an incredible time. Asked me what time Nicky Henry scored. Asked me what the final score was. I don't. It's an emotional thing for me. Like incredible times.
What my memory of it is, it was done and dusted at 2-0 because obviously Tranmere won the first leg 1-0. Clint Hill scored from the corner. The first is Henry. The second, if I remember rightly, Scott Taylor goes down in the box and Alan Marnes. Alan Marnes scores the penalty, and from that point it's game over. And Ned scores a third in the second half to put it well and truly to bed. But for the last 30 or 40 minutes, and I remember speaking to Dave Challoner about this, and he said he's never had an occasion like this before, where for 30 or 40 minutes, if not longer, you could just play your football knowing we're going to Wembley. It doesn't matter how we play, because they ain't coming back into this, and you were just in dreamland.
Yeah, it was a blur, and because we forget we'd been to Wembley in 2 playoff finals previous to that. We'd been to Wembley in the Leyland Daft game. We'd been to Wembley in the Football League Centenary. So going to Wembley, it's sort of not become. It wasn't a novelty anymore. And I've been to Wembley, watched the Milk Cup final '84 that Liverpool Everton won, staying at my mum and dad's down there. I'd been for England games, I'd been for England schoolboy games. So Wembley, getting there, that's why I haven't picked Wembley finals. It was the getting to it that was more special than the actually being there. Is the special thing. And I say it's just that particular moment, and I replay it on the TV, on YouTube, or I will put it on and I'll watch Nicky Henry put that ball in the net, and he'll forever live in my. He was a nice lad anyway, but he'll forever live in my thoughts, because just everything was right. It hit him on the right place on the boot. It flew in, and for me that just summed everything up that night. It was incredible, but just standing in front of them supporters as part of the squad. I'd done it many times before that game. I've been some big grounds away doing the kitten, but that night and them getting to Wembley, and I remember walking into the changing rooms when everyone would come off the pitch and we went in, and I just said, you know what, lads, you haven't just made my day, you've made my life. And then I remember watching Sky a day or 2 after, and they were interviewing Ned Kelly, David Kelly and Andy Thompson. I think they were in the Clipper pub. And Ned told that story. He said, oh, I remember, he said, Mark, our kit man, he said, and he came in the changing room, he said, oh, you haven't just made my day, you've made my life, crying his eyes out. I wasn't crying. I probably wasn't far of it, but I certainly wasn't crying. But it was just so special. And I know that you said made my life, obviously you've got personal things in your life that can mean more than that, but that just, because I'm thinking of the whole town, not just the football club, but the whole town, the whole Wirral Peninsula. And for years of not having this, to get into a major cup final and then beating one of your supposed rivals at the time who couldn't beat us, however hard they tried, beating them, and Sam Allardyce as well, although I do like Sam, was just magical. We've had bigger games since, probably bigger games I suppose before, but that home semi-final leg just trumps everything. For me it was just and that one moment in that game just says it all. It just all went right there, not just the whole tournament sort of thing, but that particular moment was right, and it summed everything up for me.